Page 34 in the Hall of the Mountain King. This is a really neat piece. It's an orchestra piece, but it's a nice solo arrangement. There are different piano solo arrangements. There's kind of a standard one. I did a recording of it on my other channel. I'll try and put a link in the description. But you can search it out and find a number of people playing. And it's good to hear different people because you'll hear different interpretations, different ways of you explore the ways of interpreting music. Yeah. Anyway, 2 sharps. We are in the key of B minor. You need to be doing the scale for D major, 2 sharps, and B minor, 2 sharps, 2 octaves up and down, and the arpeggios too, 2 octaves up and down at least. Common timer, 4/4 time, and both stabs now are bass clef to start. So that first note in the right hand, those are F sharps. Here. Then the left hand takes over, and I'm going to play everything connected at first. We'll just make sure we get the right fingering. I don't think the rhythm's a problem. Let's get the fingering down. So they're saying 4 here. Remember, it's C sharps and F sharps. Well, and 1. The thumb comes up for the B. Like so. And that's pretty much the melody. You're going to hear that over and over and over and over. Okay. Now the right hand gets it, and the left hand just gets this pulsing back and forth. I use second finger. You can use thumb on the F sharp if you want. They're doing 1, 2, 1. You can lead right here. You don't have to move if you don't want to. Just do that. You don't want to do them. I don't like avoiding the 4th and 5th fingers, the awkward fingers. We need to use them. So in my opinion, I just stay there. Here. And then when you get to the 3rd major, then you can put thumb on here because then you're in position. Here. So that second line. Here we do use their fingering. D naturals. I use the thumb on that again. It's all black keys, but you can use in the 3rd line down, 3rd major, the last note. We need 4th finger on that note. So if you want a 5th finger, that's fine, but then you need to use 3rd, 4, or the fingering in the book. Whichever. Now we get treble clef in the right hand. We're going up. Left hand staying here. Whatever fingering you used on the 3rd line, you can use on the 4th line in the right hand. Came down a little bit. And again, I'm just staying here. I'm not using the fingering in the book. I don't want to avoid using my awkward fingers. I just do that. And then we keep going. Now you do need the thumb on that. Same thing, an octave higher. 3rd line down, we have the chords. Now spell out the chord in the right hand. You have a D. This is the 3rd line down on page 35. A D, E sharp, which is here, a G sharp, I use 4th finger, and a B. It's a full diminished chord. We've had these. It looks ugly in the music, but that's all it is. And the B is part of the note, part of the chord. Rest, rest. Then it's just that. And then we go on. Again, diminished chord and then the regular chord. B minor chord, go on. That 4th finger's good in the whole bunch of them. It just sounds wonderful. And then the last two minutes, the tremolo, I do them as 16th notes. Just keep them, do it rhythmically. And it's a 1 iota, 2 iota. And then at the end, it's a B minor chord. That's sort of what it is. And then put in the articulation. This is going to use a nice, you can start out with finger if you'd like, but when it gets loud, you're going to have to do wrist. So if you want to start out with wrist, that's fine. Just, it's up to you. And they have accents. Watch out. You have here, that. You want to use thumb on each of the accent notes? That's fine. That's whichever is comfortable. So again, remember it's very soft here, so your accent is just a little bit above that, which makes your accent note a soft note. So the accent is just a little above it, is all. And then in the right hand, it comes in on the next line, it takes over, and the left hand just stays in the background. The sempre staccato in the second line, second measure. Sempre means always. Staccato means short. Keep doing what you're doing. In other words, staccato throughout. There's exceptions to that. But for the most part, staccato throughout. So again, second line. Third line, same thing. It's just make sure you put in the accents just a little louder than wherever you are and whatever dynamic you're at. And for the most part, that's it. Now let's go over to page 35. Third line down, sforzando. Those are loud accent. This is like a very loud note. And you can disconnect that, but the pedal's got up. Got to land on those notes. Now, actually, you're loud in the melody anyway, but those, the left hand's sort of soft. Accent on both notes. Then at the bottom, last measure, staccato. Short staccato, boom. You can use an arm staccato there. An arm staccato is when you're using the forearm to do it rather than the wrist. When it gets really loud like that, we got to use bigger muscles. So use bigger muscles. I still think you should collapse the wrist a little bit though. So it's here. Dynamic, again, we're going to start out very soft and we're going to go to very loud. Gradually. And you get a little louder and softer throughout the journey. But we're starting soft, real soft here, and then soft. You're staying very soft with the melody, and third line down you go up a little bit to soft. That makes the accented notes moderately soft. Those half notes, by the way, are not staccato. That sempre staccato applies to both hands, both staves, because it's in the middle, but these longer notes are not staccato. The third line down, you go up a little bit more to moderately soft, which makes the accents moderately loud. Now we're moderately loud on page 35. Keep the left hand in the background. That makes the accented notes loud. They have a poco al poco, accelerando al fine. Wasn't that wonderful? It means little by little, poco a poco, little by little, very gradually. Accelerando is to gradually speed up or accelerate. Al fine is to the end, which is at the bottom. So what they're telling you is that throughout page 35, you're gradually going to speed it up. Careful, because when you start speeding up, you'll do it too much too soon, and pretty soon you're out of control. You're too fast. So I'm suggesting you might take it more or less like a phrase at a time. So in this case, it's like a line at a time. So you're staying more or less the same. speed up a little bit, just a little bit. Speed up a little more. Rest, 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 rest. A little more. Faster. By the time you get the last line, you're going pretty fast. You might have to do the tremolos as eighth notes. Just make sure you do that for 6 counts, this, at however fast you're going. And that's sort of the idea. You're getting really loud, and then the last line you start really soft, both hands, and you're going to go up to loud. Then suddenly the silence, and then the soft. You're going to go up to very loud. Whatever it is. It helps if I hit the right notes once in a while. Now they've added some pedal, and the idea with the pedal is we're going to let the pedal help us with the overtones on the really loud notes to make them blast out there even louder. So it's a slightly different pedaling technique or style than we've been using. It's not overlap. It's with it at the same time. Page 35 at the end of the second line. I'm not sure what they're after here. In my mind, what I want to do is on the third line, I don't care about the second line, I want to hear that rest at the end of the second line. But on the third line, I'm going to put the pedal down right before I play the bass note here. Put the pedal down first, and here I'm going to lift it up with the hands after one beat, and I'm moving along pretty good here. And then after the sound stops, I'm going to put the pedal down again and play it again, the next measure. Like so. So the pedal is actually down before I play the notes. The idea there is I want to release the dampers before it, so when the sound does start, all the overtones are immediately. It's like an explosion. It's a different technique. It's used a lot when you're playing really loud chords, and you can't always, but if you can, then you put the pedal down right before you play the chords so they explode even more. It's a very slight difference, but it makes a difference. So third line down, put the pedal down first right before you play it. And I don't change the pedal here, it's just... And I would do that on each of these. Then in the last line, here you're very soft. So now you can put the pedal down after you play it, start it first, and then leave it down. But lift it up. And then again, put it down immediately. And at the end, lift it up with the hands. So we get a staccato. It's got to come up there. You may have to practice the pedaling because you don't want the pedaling to mess up your sound. Now all a marcia is march-like, or like a march, 1, 2, left, right. But this is different because usually in a march, it's not a march, but it's like a march. In a march or a waltz or a dance of some sort, you don't usually change speeds. You keep a steady speed because it implies people are moving to it. And they need to move to a steady speed. They don't want to be speeding up and slowing down. This is not a march, but it's sort of like a march, and we're going to gradually speed up there on that second page. So here you're starting out not too fast, but not too slow either. How long you hold that first note, you feel it. Let it die away a little bit, and then go on. And I lift up before I go on, so there's a little silence there.